Welcome to another episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. We are here in our 9th episode. Can y'all believe we've been doing this for 9 episodes now?
No.
That's a lot of episodes, Brian.
I appreciate that enthusiasm, Phoenix. Thank you.
One more and we'll have made double digits because math.
That's how I hear math works. Allegedly. All right, when we left off, we had just recently left the Golden Gardens Park, which is a current amusement park with the finest of Victorian activities like bathing and carousels. Also witches. We managed to obtain from the witch Mira Asketil a key item you will need to find Tristan Van Duer. Seaweed bladders, a mystical item that will let you breathe underwater. We then took a carriage down to the lakeshore, and we're just about getting ready to board the fishing boat of a local fisherman named Carl when you heard a mysterious noise off in the woods, which sounded an awful lot like the mooing of a cow and the ringing of a silver bell. Are you guys going to head out after it?
Yes, Sofie is definitely interested. Also, I wanted to say for the listeners at home that I gotta go find her name.
Mira? Yeah. Is it Mira Asketil?
Mira Asketil is super hot, and if Sofie had noticed this at the time, or if Aaron had known this at the time, perhaps things would have gone differently. However, that is not the case. So, Sofie is definitely going to want to check out the noise. Obviously, because we do know of the significance of the cow and the silver bell, but also because she has these sort of wistful, nostalgic feelings from her very young childhood of hearing those sorts of songs, and it's going to sort of draw her in that direction.
And kind of associating the culling and cows and the woods and all of that. Perfect.
Yeah, as you get ready to approach, Julian just does warn you, remember what we had learned. The Hueno, the cow, this is her protector. I don't know that she'll like it if we mess with it, so let's just be careful.
Now, an important note, which Julian would remember, she is actually the protector of the cow. It is not a protector of her.
God damn it.
So she is like a shepherdess for the cow.
Well, even better. We still don't want to mess with the cow.
We definitely don't want to alarm or hurt the cow because she will be very upset. So I just want to go and take a look.
Mm-hmm.
Just be cautious.
Now, it is important to note, you do not see this cow anywhere. You were barely able to hear it. So it is somewhere off in the woods. And we're talking pretty thick, pretty dense woods.
Okay.
So
Sofie will start towards the woods. What time of day is it? It's like afternoon?
Oh, yeah, early afternoon. So just a little after lunch.
But still, I'm sure it's cloudy because it's here.
Mm-hmm.
She will look at the woods and then like sort of tilt her head and listen. And then she'll straighten up and look at Julian. We have more important things to do. We have to do what we came here for. Let's go. And she'll walk off towards Carl in the water.
Right, the water, where we are going and then diving with kelp bags that we got from a witch, and we trust her. So, we could do that, but maybe we could spend a little time looking at. We don't want to leave any stones unturned, so we'll be careful, but let's go check it out. It might be important.
Oh, that's a good point, Julian. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps we will learn something important if we go and take a look closer look.
And bonus points, it's longer for us to get drowned by a witch.
Julian. Sofie looks a little bit nervous, by the way, to go into the woods, even though it's daytime.
Well, there are a lot of things out in these woods. Wandering out and tromping through the woods on a cold spring day was hardly what you thought you were going to be doing this morning when you woke up in the library's quarters. Lake Washington is still at your back, and occasionally when you look behind you, you can spot the dark waters between the trees and the curling vines of the blackberry bushes, which have overtaken this area. You're forced to pause every dozen feet, reorienting yourselves as you hear the sounds of a cow somewhere in the woods. If the folklore is to be believed, this is likely the lake wife's Huena, one of her beloved lake cattle. Hiking through a dense forest is a tiring process, leaving you with scratches on your hands and small tears in your clothing from the brambles, and a chill in your bones from the rain dripping down from the pine trees above. The shivers run down your spine certainly aren't being helped by the occasional staring eyes of a toad, watching from where it somehow landed in a tree above when they rained from the sky earlier. It takes over an hour to finally reach your destination, but you see it. A striped cow, bound to a thick tree trunk by a heavy rope. It's bucking and straining, causing the silver bell around its neck to ring. And just as you begin to draw near, you hear it on the wind. That song, now rising up from the waters of the lake. It's stronger now, more demanding, and it's calling to you. Where once it felt filled with longing, the song now takes a more sinister turn. Caelan suddenly covers his ears and then stands up straight. His eyes go wide. Wait, I didn't know. I gotta go! He shouts and then takes off, running into the woods at top speed.
What? Wait.
Caelan?
You have no idea what song he heard, but it seems different than whatever's sounding in your ears. The song's notes are growing louder and more insistent. Your vision momentarily ripples, like you've just dunked your head underwater and opened your eyes.
Should we go after him?
Aaron, can I get an observation test from you?
Oh boy.
Is this something I can help her with?
Nope.
Okay.
Wow. 0 successes on 6 dice.
Now, do you want to push that roll?
Yeah, fuck it.
That's the spirit. That's what you love to hear with the first roll of the session.
Mm-hmm. 1 success on 6 dice. Hey,
That's more than 0
that's
successes.
why we put ourselves in danger in order to roll again, folks. That's it right there.
Now, before you choose what mental condition you're going to get, I have an important question for you. As your vision is kind of rippling and twisting, like you've just opened your eyes up underwater, you look from the departing form of Caelan back to Julian, because you were just about to grab onto Julian's arm.
Mm-hmm.
And Julian's not standing there. Someone else is standing there. For just a moment, can you tell me what Madame Myrtle looks like?
Oh, she is. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen her for 20 years, so my memory of her is, or maybe 15
She
years.
looks exactly like you would remember.
Right. It's, yeah, it would be from the last time that I saw her. So she is in a ridiculously, antebellum dress, and it's all, way too extravagant and, just cleavage
For days.
in your face, and it's got she's powdered. Who wears powder? She's powdered, and she's got questionably red hair, and it's in this super fancy updo, and she's got a lot of makeup on, which women don't normally wear, and she is smiling, but it's very fake, and she obviously, she stands all the time so that her chest is like on display, because I guess that's her job. And she's very loud. It's not an appearance thing, but she's loud in appearance as well.
She is loud in both appearance and volume.
Yes. She is a pretty vulgar woman of the night, you might say. Not necessarily the kind who would stand, on the street or anything, but still, you could tell she works in a brothel.
Mm-hmm. And how does seeing her again make Sofie feel?
Honestly, Sofie has a little bit of a panic attack. Not necessarily just because she sees her, but seeing her reminds her of everything that she, of her life during that period. And, she tries not to think about any of that, because it's just bygones. But she definitely, she probably starts shaking a little bit and maybe flushing and sweating a little bit. And also she has anger that wells up as well, because of all the things that she's learned since she left. She realizes that, she was victimized, and that this woman was, took advantage of her. So
give yourself the frightened condition.
Makes sense.
Unless you think angry applies better.
No, I think frightened is better because, she does have anger, but I think
that is lower down on the priority.
Yeah, that's second priority, yeah.
Phoenix, you see a look of just terror wash over Sofie's face. Just a panic that you have never seen this calm and collected person have before. What do you say? What do you do?
Yeah, seeing that, and especially with the music. I can hear the music, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's not affecting you the same way it seems to be affecting her.
Right. But yeah, with hearing the music and Sofie's reaction, I walk right up to her. I'm like right next to her, and I am not slapping, but I've got like both hands up on her face, kind of lightly tapping on either side of her cheeks. Sofie, snap out of it. It's Julian. Can you hear me? Sofie. I'm just kind of trying to wake her up out of it.
And Sofie, Madame Myrtle suddenly lunges for your face. Her fingers, long, perfect, immaculate, but claw-like nails, coming in for your cheeks. And just barely under her voice, you hear something else. You hear the voice of a friend. You hear the voice of someone you know. And just like that, it breaks. And washing off of Julian like water, that image disappears and just seems to run off of him. And it's Julian there.
She'll probably sink to her knees for a second, and just sort of look around and breathe and breathe and breathe, and hold Julian's hand. And then she's still very her nerves are racked, but she remembers what happened with Julian before, where he saw his father. You told us that you saw your father, right? Mm-hmm. Or we gathered or something. We know that that's what it was.
Okay. I think both.
Yeah. And I will, kind of put those two things together, and I realize this is because of the bosun, and everything's fine. She's not here. She's dead. And good riddance. And then she'll sort of square her shoulders and stand up.
Make for me a fear test with a +1 bonus.
Oh boy. But again, I get a -1 because of the thing. So.
But it at least evens out because you got the benefit of having Julian with you.
Hey!
All right. I did it! And what'd you get?
Sorry, I got 2 successes on 5 dice.
Excellent.
Thank goodness.
So you feel that fear wash over you, but exactly like you said, you think about what happened to Julian. You think about everything you've learned about this magic so far. You mentally piece yourself back together and wall yourself back together. You'll have time to process all this later, but not right now. So you take a minute and steel yourself.
Looking at Sofie, I just want to make sure, is she wearing her coat and it's inside out?
She is. Aaron, you would actually roll 2 more dice on that observation roll.
Oh,
You did already pass, so you're mostly good.
tight.
So I will now reveal to you that with your coat flipped inside out, you get a bonus against any kind of magical things that happen to you. Lastly, Aaron, there is one other thing that helps kind of pull you out of this feeling, and it is the cold sensation of something running down your arm, stretching out from your shoulder. And it's this freezing cold, painful sensation that just kind of shocks her awake and helps her overcome that fear. And it leaves your arm pained and aching, like it's been out in the winter air for too long.
Mm-hmm. And I assume that I'm used to that feeling to an extent, but
Not like this.
it's okay. It's different. Yeah.
This feels very different.
Interesting. Oh, interesting. Okay.
So the 2 of you find yourselves alone in the forest with a cow. You know not where Caelan has gone, but he ran off at top speed. And while checking in on Sofie, Caelan is just gone.
Well, that was exciting. Clearly, we've caught her attention. How do we want to handle this? If we try to bring her here, we have some measure of protection, but she's already very defensive, and all we've done is approach. Do we continue towards the cow, Sofie, or are we getting too close?
The cow moves very loudly and starts thrashing its head about, trying to get loose.
Can I perform an animal handling check? What would that be? Like, is there a way that I can
Empathy, maybe?
try to calm it down at all?
That is an excellent question.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there any, like, we don't want to scare the cow. Is there any way that, any benefit to us even, like, interacting with the cow if she's just getting mad?
I will give you 2 things. Phoenix, you can make an... I'll actually let you both make a learning test to kind of... actually, never mind. An investigation test to piece together some of what's going on in this situation.
Hey, I got 2 successes on 7 dice. Hey!
That's right. 2 successes on 2 dice.
Dang. Killing it.
And that is my quota of successes for the rest of the night.
Right? Yeah, me too.
It's all downhill from here.
It is all downhill from here.
So the 2 of you are quite certain that her song was not related to you getting closer to the Huaynao. You think that they are completely unrelated. She's clearly upset and she's clearly angry, but it doesn't seem related to the cow itself, or at least not related to your proximity to the cow. Given that you both crushed that roll, I'd be willing to say, like, you can kind of read the situation well enough. You can get a sense on where you need to be. So if you wanted to walk towards the cow in a non-threatening manner, you could both do so easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I will approach with my hands kind of up in front of myself, just making soothing, cooing noises towards the cow.
Question.
Mhm.
Can we tell why the cow is distressed? Is it because the is distressed, or is there something else out here that is upsetting it, or is it us?
Given that you both got 2 successes, I will give you the answer to that as well.
Yeah.
The cow is distressed because it is tied up.
I was just
it
thinking that, yeah.
it does not want to be kept this far from the water.
Yeah,
Does it
okay.
look like a human? This is a stupid question, but you'll understand. Does it look like a human tied knot? Like somebody
Yes.
tied it up? Okay. So
Absolutely.
let's fucking free it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, approaching very carefully, very non-threateningly, trying to be as soothing as I possibly can.
And it stops bucking as you start to get close with your hands up like that. And it just watches you.
And yeah, I will attempt to untie it.
I'll just hold my hand out to it, to its snout, and just kind of just gently let it smell me and just try to distract it and stuff so it doesn't get scared.
Its wet nose kind of presses against your hand a couple of times. Julian, you're easily able to undo the knots. It takes a little bit of work, but you manage to get through them. And as soon as the cow can pull back, it does so. It gives one kind of heavy exhalation of breath, and then runs straight for the lake.
This is probably a terrible idea, but I'm going to try anyway. As it takes off, I'm going to see if I can just wrap my hand around the rope and either try to slow it down, or I'm along for the ride, one or the other.
Give me a force check.
Force. Awesome.
One of Julian's high skills.
Does he get inspiration because I am there cheering him on?
You can provide a +1 helping die if you'd like, Aaron.
Oh. Did I have to roll? Oh boy.
Nope, he just gets +1 die.
Okay.
Yeah, even with that, that is 0 successes on 4 dice.
Oh.
Do you want to push that roll?
I do not.
Very well.
Good call.
So, as this cow goes stampeding past you, a 1-cow stampede, Julian grabs the rope, and then immediately that starts burning his hands. And he just can't hold on to it. And this thing just goes crashing straight towards the lake. It is weaving through the trees, but any of the blackberries, any of the little shrubs that are in its way, bam, 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 just knocking them straight out.
I think he's going
to try to keep up.
Should we? Yep. Yeah, let's just follow it.
So the pair of you kind of jog after it. You're a little bit further down the shore than where you were earlier, so you've gotten a little bit turned around in the woods. But you keep after this cow as best you can. It gets a pretty good lead on you, but you're able to watch as it gets down to the shore and just jumps as soon as it gets close to the water. And then suddenly, it's not a cow. There is a sturgeon hurtling through the air, still with a little silver bell around its neck, and splash plunges into the water.
I slowly turned to Sofie. You saw that too, right?
Saw what, Julian? No, I'm just joking. I totally saw it. That's insane.
That's a new one. Well, okay, so that's done. Oh, now what do we do? I guess we go meet the boatman, whose name is a name
Carl.
that I remember. It is Carl.
Carl!
I guess. Do we just go meet Carl?
Does it make more sense for us to just go in here, or does it make more sense for us to?
We're not going to be able to keep up with that thing.
And out. Yeah, of course, but I mean, maybe
you would probably want to go in from the boat because it's pretty far out.
Okay, I just wasn't sure how close it was to where we are.
Also, something that I was going to bring up this session, Quinn had mentioned things like free diving out into the lake.
Yeah.
It is important to note Lake Washington is up to 200 feet deep in places.
No, thank you.
So that is quite far down. And you are headed out nicely into the middle-ish area of the lake.
I just want you to know that Sofie is actually rather excited about doing this because she likes adventure and stuff to a point. But Aaron is terrified because I can't hold my breath underwater, and 2, I fucking hate seaweed and coral. Like, I have a seaweed and coral phobia. Sofie is unlimited by such mortal concerns because she is a fictional character, and thus I do not have to burden her with all of these things. However, I just want you to know.
I mean, fortunately, there's not a whole lot of coral to contend with in Lake Washington.
Yeah. At least the coral is not there, so there's not going to be the creepy.
But the lakeweed side, we're going to have some problems.
Not to mention, we're going to be breathing through a fucking seaweed bag.
Hey, this was your bright idea. I told you the witch is trying to kill us.
I know.
Julian doesn't say.
But thinks it very loudly and communicates it very clearly with his face.
He's very emotive.
So the pair of you meet a old friend of Caelan's named Carl, who is a local fisherman who owed Caelan a favor and is more than happy to take some of his friends out onto the lake. You have the coordinates that you were able to find from the logbook that you got from Kipper. And you are out on this boat above the dark waters of Lake Washington.
Sofie obviously has a lot of she wears pants and then she wears skirts, not because she thinks that she should be conforming to societal standards or whatever, but because there's a lot of pockets in there. And so she can carry all kinds of stuff and hide things and everything. It's just really convenient. But obviously going down into the water, that's not convenient, extremely not convenient. So she is gonna get rid of her dress, and
Carl looks scandalized.
I know.
Immediately starts drinking.
Sorry, Carl. Sorry about this. She'll lose the actual dress
down the water
with the underskirts, and her books obviously are not going in the water. Like, let's be real. And she's just in, like plain pants underneath and just like a cotton shirt or whatever. So,
I mean, if anything, a woman in pants is even more scandalizing to Carl.
He's like, oh, this woman's taking her dress off. Oh, God,
it's even worse. She's wearing trousers.
Oh, the humanity.
All right. You have one of these seaweed bladders, and the instructions you got from Mira, which were definitely said, are in order to use these, you basically take a very deep breath, then blow into the seaweed bladder, and then seal up the end of it.
And then what?
And then you can breathe underwater.
What?
That's what she said.
You could just breathe. You don't have to take it with you? I thought we were going to be breathing in and out of it. Like,
does Sofie breathe into it and then seal it up?
If she has the instructions, then yeah.
Once she does and kind of seals off the end with a little bit of wax, the bladder slowly deflates and then slowly inflates. And slowly deflates and slowly inflates. Like
Aaron is having way more trepidation even than before. Sofie is like, wow, she's so clever to have created something just so magical and magnificent. I love this. This is such a smart way to go under the water. Don't you think, Julian?
Meanwhile, Julian is echoing the expression on Aaron's face right now, and is just horrified and is in the time it has taken Sofie to get out of her dress and whatever other rearranging she is doing, he has maybe taken off a shoe, as he is going very slowly, and just every fiber of his being does not want to do this, and at the same time, he's not letting Sofie go alone, but he hates this. And yeah, as he lays eyes on the kelp bladder, he's turning a little bit green, and it has nothing to do with the seasickness. He just, yeah, not great. But he will slowly, remarkably slowly, manage to get out of his shoes. He'll take his shirt off. In fact, you know what? He will probably strip down to just underwear. We'll see how Carl feels about that. It's probably fine.
I mean, that's
He's
fine.
like, what are these? What
They're
are
called
these
abs.
people
Let's
doing?
be fair. This is a friend of Caelan's.
Oh, true.
Carl has seen weirder.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
No, my abs are glistening in the sunlight, so there is that.
Of course.
Please make an abs glisten check.
Julian,
I don't know what to roll.
I will go first. Don't worry. I'll go first and make sure that it's okay to breathe under there, and then I'll give you the thumbs up. Okay?
Sure. Yep, I'm ready for this. Yep, we're good. Yep.
Goose. We should leave that. Hannah. We should leave the occasional
Just shouting for the cat.
Exclamation. Yes, because it's part of the charm of the podcast that everyone would like to know when Goose is there. Goose is here. He's here. Hi, Goose.
All right. Sofie has this seaweed bladder that is rhythmically breathing right now. Julian is tentatively getting ready to jump in the water. Sofie was going to go first. Do you dive in?
Yep. Just jump right in.
All right. And presumably dive under the water.
Yep.
For a brief moment, your body feels the need to panic since you are underwater and trying to breathe. But it passes as air comes to you easily. It takes some time for your eyes to adjust to being in the murky waters of the lake. Beneath your boat is a massive forest of petrified trees, covered in thick, waving strands of algae and lakeweed. Sorry, Aaron. You catch a glint of fish darting in and out between the branches and tree trunks. Swimming down just a tiny bit, the light becomes diffused, and everything takes on shadowy tones of greens and blues. Somewhere in this underwater forest is your destination. Now it's just a matter of finding it. What do you do?
I'm waiting.
You're breathing
for
comfortably.
Julian.
You even find you can talk.
Oh, that's handy.
You do get the sense you should bring that seaweed bladder with you, though.
I should bring it with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I
have a feeling you need to keep it on your person, but you don't need to use it as like a snorkel.
I put it in my shirt, just so
Okay.
I don't have to hold it.
There are strings on there. You could easily tie it off to your trousers.
Oh, okay,
as
like
well.
a belt loop or something.
Yep.
Okay.
I will take a few moments as I watch Sofie descend into the water, waiting for her to suddenly come up near drowning. As a little bit of time goes by, she seems to be okay. I'm going to go ahead and I start as if I'm going to go over the side, and then suddenly realize and turn back, go back to my pile of clothing, put my coat back on inside out, and make sure that I grab the mitten that we had acquired. Go back over to the edge of the boat and just shaking my head.
Carl just gives you a thumbs up.
Carl, if, I don't know, say I, drowned, if you wouldn't mind bringing the fiddle back to Madame Lou for me.
Yep.
Cool. And it takes him like several tries. Like he is trying to get out of the boat, and yet his body is just not cooperating, not letting this happen.
Do you need help, son?
Eventually, he just kind of tumbles over the edge. And
Also, vitally important question.
Yes.
Where is Yorts?
This is an important
Did Yorts get a seaweed bladder?
No, Yorts did not get a seaweed bladder. I'm not doing that to him. Although he doesn't mind swimming. He swims sometimes. Just because he's stupid, not because anyway. He's the best boy. I would leave him on the boat, and he knows that if anything, he always knows to go back to the library if anything happens. Mm-hmm. If he gets separated from me or anything, he'll go back to the library. It's one of his few,
notable traits.
Yeah, he'll just be hanging out on the boat. And I'm sure he'll be charming Carl and getting, fish treats or something.
As Julian plunges down into the water,
he realizes he should have done one more thing.
Yeah.
Is it possible, with Carl there, my shotgun and pistol ain't going to work under the water. Does he have, like, a dive knife that I can borrow?
Yeah, he's got a knife that you can use. He'll want it back.
I promise to give it back so long as I haven't drowned.
And if you've drowned, he can keep your pistol and your shotgun, so it seems...
Indeed.
Carl thinks about it, and he feels like he's going to come out ahead on that, so he's okay with it.
It's worth noting, Sofie did not take her jacket. She does not have a coat on, so she does not have an inside-out coat.
All right, you will not get any benefits resisting the Lake Wife's magical powers. You mentioned she's wearing trousers. What is Sofie wearing as her top?
Yeah, she's just got on like a cotton, like a plain cotton shirt that is normally what she wears underneath her skirt and her jacket. So just like a white button-up shirt, basically.
Long sleeves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she always wears long sleeves.
Excellent. So Phoenix Julian kind of jumps over the side with this knife that he got from Carl. Kind of tucks that into his belt. He ties off the seaweed bladder, which is, again, kind of rhythmically breathing on its own.
He is doing his very best to ignore it completely. It is as far away from his eye line, from his line of sight.
So he ties into, like, the back of his belt loop.
Very much so.
Yorts hops up on the edge of the boat rail and kind of watches both of you go down, down, down. And then he whips his head back, looking at one of the little braids that's on his back and tries to get at it, and just topples right over.
Accurate.
So he's on his back, just rolling around.
Yep.
The two of you begin swimming downwards. Can I get investigation tests from you both?
Yeah, not my strength here. That is 0 success on 2 dice. I will not be pushing that because it's 2 dice and I suck at these.
Okay, I have a question. Could I possibly retcon and say that I spent some time with Yorts, perhaps unbraiding his hair or something to get rid of my frightened condition while we were heading out here?
I'll allow it. This time.
Because I feel like this is the denouement. I would want to be at my, I would want...
At your best.
Yeah, I would assume that this is like the critical thing that we're going to do, so I would want to like calm myself down a little bit and...
So yeah, we can say that when the group of you were rowing out, you spend time with Yorts, just playing with him on the boat and helping to kind of brush out some of those tangles that are shockingly still in his fur. And so you
He's
could
got the
remove.
one bow in the very, like, behind his neck, because that's where they can't get to. So that's the only one really that's, like, left.
That's still
like
there.
it's less braids and more mats at this point.
Yeah.
And when he tipped over on the boat, he was trying to get that one last bow and
Yeah.
just couldn't quite
Yeah.
reach it. So yeah, you can do that and you can remove up to 2 conditions from having a scene with your memento.
Okay. Well, I only did one. So you said investigation?
Yep.
All right. 0 successes on 8 dice. Physical dice are incoming.
Do you want to push that roll? You don't have to.
Nah, not this
Okay.
time.
So it takes both of you a little while searching through this dark, shadowy forest of petrified trees, pushing past these lake weeds, trying to find the ruin of this ship. And as you are searching, you catch a flash of movement in the water around you. Suddenly, there are dozens of salmon and sturgeons that are swimming directly at you. Then, about 10 feet away, they all just stop. All of them just swimming in place and staring.
This may have been what the investigation was for. Do I notice any of them with a bell on?
In fact, one of them does have a bell around its neck, and it's just watching you.
I'll point it out to Sofie, and kind of turn and nod towards it, just acknowledging the sturgeon that is not a cow. Does it react at all as I acknowledge
It just stares at you with those black fish eyes.
I will slowly swim towards it. Does it seem like it's feels threatened, or it wants to chase us away, or can we follow?
It seems like they're just watching you. But it's been probably about 10 minutes of searching now. You spot just beyond that school of fish what looks like the remains of the boat. Do you swim past them?
I'm actually going to, before swimming past, I'm actually just going to talk to it. And you said we can speak down here underwater.
Yep. You can speak perfectly normally. You can breathe as if you were on land.
Weird, but okay. So yeah, I will just turn and making eye contact with the sturgeon. We're down looking for someone. I hope we're not intruding. And I will also kind of hold my hand out with a mitten and just see if it has, again, any interest in the mitten.
None.
None at
it's
all.
Just staring at you with these incomprehensible eyes.
Okay. Bye. And, with that, yeah, just slowly start kind of like side stroke my way with my head turned backwards to keep an eye on the fish and just see if anything is happening with them. But I'll start
as
making
the
my way
two
there.
of you kind of make your way down. The fish slowly turn in the water, just so they're still watching you. The small steamer, the Chalice of Avir, is slowly being consumed by the lake. The ship tipped onto its side when it sank, crashing into the petrified trees that fill this underwater forest. Some of them buckling under its weight, and others piercing the hull. Seaweed has grown over the ship, although you can just barely read the golden lettering that says Chalice of Avir on the side. When the ship sank, one of the trunks of the trees must have ripped open its bottom hull, leaving a gaping tear about 8 feet wide in the front prow of the ship. Pale green light spills out of that opening, and occasionally as the seaweed shifts in the water's currents, you see a few rays spill out from the moldering windows. As you swim closer, a small school of silvery cutthroat trout scatter and disappear among the silent underwater forest.
Taking a look around, I can't think of any better way to try to get someone's attention, so I am going to try out this whole talking underwater, and I'm just going to call out for Tristan. Tristan, can you hear us? Are you here?
No answer.
Okay.
The lake wife is the Huera?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, Sofie will try calling out to, we can see that there is that green light. And so obviously, either she's keeping him down there or it's just her down there. I don't know. So she will call out, Madam Huera, vi är icke farliga. And she will swim up to the gap, and she's just trying to say, like, we're not going to hurt you. We're not, we're not trying to hunt you or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're safe.
Does Julian come with?
Yep.
Grudgingly?
Grudgingly.
Lining the edges of almost every surface in the rooms beyond are bands of eggs that emit a soft green glow. Baby fish and tiny tadpoles squirm and wriggle inside of those glowing egg sacs. Cracked bench seats and shattered beams have sunk to the ground, with a few hanging askew from what for you is now the ceiling. An enormous iron boiler is one of the only surfaces free of eggs, and it still clings to the boards it was bolted to, making it look like it's drunkenly tilting to the side, leaning its heavy iron door hanging open. The water here is thick and murky. You can taste it in your mouth, sour and vaguely metallic. It takes a moment for your eyes to adjust to the gloom, but when they do, you see him. Tristan Van Deur. He drifts, limbs slack, head down, a seaweed bladder rising and falling in slow but steady breaths in his hands. He's well dressed, his waterlogged dress coat billowing in the water, the coat's tails bobbing among the seaweed and egg sacs. At some point, he seems to have lost his left shoe. At his feet is a curling length of pale white alderwood, twisted into a wand about the length of your forearm.
Mm-hmm.
You spend only a moment watching Tristan float before you begin to hear the faintest notes of a song meant only for him. She moves, and what you momentarily mistook for another cracked log reveals itself to be a female creature. Her back is open and hollow, resembling cracked and rotting wood. Her skin is a flat white, like waterlogged wood. As she spins around the young man, you catch a momentary glimpse of her beautiful feminine face and her unnaturally wide, shimmering eyes, which are the color of burnished gold. Her green hair drifts, dreamlike in the current. The song that twines from her mouth is senseless, wordless, but profoundly beautiful. As you watch, she gestures, and Tristan begins to move, slowly and clumsily, as if sleepwalking. His hands raise up the seaweed bladder, and he begins to fumble with the bag, attempting to open it as she watches intently. Can I get a fear test from you both? You both get a +1 bonus, by the way, from being close together.
Hey! Sofie got 1 success on 6 dice.
Excellent.
And Julian, once he did it properly, rolled 2 successes on 5 dice.
Excellent. Phoenix, remind me, what condition does Julian have right now?
Hopeless.
You feel a momentary sense of this kind of dread, this awfulness. But you know you don't have time for that. Your friends are counting on you. This young man is counting on you. You have to get your shit together. Since you got 1 more success than you need, you may actually remove a mental condition.
Wow, nice.
I am
Alright,
less hopeless.
Tristan is kind of clumsily, almost sleepily fumbling with this bag, trying to pull at the drawstrings that are holding the seaweed bladder closed. What do you do?
I figure that is probably not a good thing for him to do.
You suspect not.
Looking towards the lake wife, she has eyes fixed on him.
Mm-hmm. You don't think she's even picked up on the fact that you're here. She's so focused on him.
Oh, okay. I will call out to her. Again, hands up, trying to look as non-threatening as possible. Madam Lakewife. I'm just trying to catch her attention, see if she'll notice me.
When you call out to her from here, at this distance, she's able to hear you, and those golden eyes fix on you.
I will, again, both hands up, both of them kind of wave very slightly towards her. Hello, we were sent by this one's father to hopefully bring him back. We have brought an offering. And again, I will extend my hand with the mitten and see if she has any interest.
Her head kind of tilts to the side as you offer this mitten. You offer me a gift?
Yes. May I approach?
You may.
I will carefully and slowly and as, again, unthreateningly as I possibly can, make my way towards her. And again, just holding my hand out with the mitten.
Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of make your way through all this shattered seating and these broken benches that are hanging askew. And where she is, deeper in the Chalice of Yvier, there's this thick tangle of kelp. Past her, there's the old steamship furnace that's hanging open. You see fish are darting around. There are chunks of petrified tree that have broken through the hull. And Phoenix, past her, in the back corner of the bow, you spot old piles of luggage, including what looks like a large locked steamer trunk.
Oh, shit.
As you approach, she lets you. You notice Tristan is still occasionally fumbling with those drawstrings. He's not doing very well, though, because he seems out of it. And she very, very lightly reaches out a hand for you to place the mitten on her.
I do so.
This is most kind. You may call me by my name, Deep Wave.
I do my best to bow as best I can in water.
It's a weird feeling being underwater and trying to do so.
I also look back to Sofie. Sofie, what are you doing for this?
I will, after you have successfully offered her the mitten, I will reach in my pocket and get some coins out. That's the only thing that's in these pants pockets that I brought with me.
And would it help for you guys to see kind of a layout of this place?
A battle map of sorts?
Out of this place.
Just so you know where things are at.
Just so we know where things are.
Yeah.
Just in case you need it for anything.
Okay. So there's Sofie, Tristan, there's me, there's Deep Wave. She's number 1 there?
Yeah, I like how she's like a Kelpie doll or something. Um,
Oh, yeah, it's just the eyes. Creepy.
okay, so yeah, I will, after Julian has made his offering, Sofie will take her coins out and come up as well and offer the coins, and she will say that Sofie is a little bit enamored of a lot of, the legends and stuff, especially, given her origins and stuff like that. And so she will offer the coins and she will say, more beautiful than the deepest waves, and give her the coins.
And she lightly takes them from your hand and looks over them. Both of you have been very respectful. May you have good luck upon the waves. What has brought you to this depth?
I kind of nod over my shoulder towards Tristan.
Mm-hmm.
And this man's father, he's missing his son. He didn't know what had happened. We simply wish to bring him back.
She furrows her brows. This brutish thing. I was upon the surface of the water, singing songs filled with longing and love. And he and that small man he was with must have overheard them. Perhaps he has never loved anything else before, but he seemed to try to pursue me into the water. Then, while I was here, he stole from me, taking my Huayn out and dragging it away from the water shores, tying it farther than I could feel. When he came down here, he said something about saving me and offering me a dowry, as if he could give me a gift of my own cows. He had that strange want, though I do not know what he intended. And now you say you wish to take him back?
I nod a little sheepishly. Also, Brian, can you remind me what we know that we are to retrieve the wand? Do we know what the wand does, or what it was described
You
as?
do not. All you know is that Tristan stole it from Mira. But what its function is, you are not sure. He seemed to think it would do something, though. And based on what Deepwave said, he thought it would do something to save her.
We have released your charge from its bonds. I am sure you can sense that they are swimming close to you now.
And she smiles at that. Phoenix. Or Aaron, but probably Phoenix in this case. I am going to need a manipulation test.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not touching that.
But you get some bonuses.
Oh.
You get a +2 bonus for having given her mittens, a +1 bonus from having given her a handful of coins, and Sofie could assist, as she already has, to give you an additional +1. So that'd be +4 dice.
Oh.
Nice.
Also, if you had not rescued her Huayn out, she would not be even willing to consider your request.
Yay, I'm glad we went to the cow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is 2 successes on 12 dice.
She seems to think about and consider it. And then very slowly, she kind of nods. I can understand you wanting to return this creature to its father, and I can permit it for you. But it still looked upon me in a most unseemly way. I will let him go to you, but I will be taking one of his eyes for daring to look upon me.
It seems fair. I would do the same. Were it legal.
She nods at that from Sofie. Sensible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Phoenix is completely fine with it. Julian.
Julian, he'll be happy to have his gun back. There's got to be some sort of consequence for this situation he's put himself in.
Julian, kind of squinches up his face. Definitely looks uncomfortable with this, yet at the same time does not want to start mixing it up with Avasan. Certainly not going to pick a fight with it, but do I just want to say okay?
Sofie will, take Julian's hand and, squeeze it. We should probably take a
cool.
Yeah. I look very uncomfortable with it, but kind of give a short nod. Very, very well.
And just like that hand that did not have the mitten darts forward, quick as a snake, and suddenly the water around him turns red.
Oh!
You may take him back now.
Do you have any use for this object here which he brought with him? Could we take that as well?
I have no desire for it. You are welcome to it.
Thank you, and may I say, we were blessed to have been able to look upon you properly.
She smiles at that. You are most well spoken in the old ways.
Before we go to leave, I will ask her, thank you for your hospitality and allowing us to bring back this brute. And I apologize again for his behavior. We will certainly ensure that he knows the consequences of his actions. I would like to ask, the trunk behind you? And I just kind of, again, nod over in that direction.
She looks back at it.
Is this of any use, or is there anything I might be able to trade to bring that along with me?
I have no use for that. You are welcome to it if you would like.
I just need to figure out how to get it up to the surface.
We're underwater. It doesn't weigh anything. Not anything.
That's not true.
It doesn't weigh what it would here.
Do I think that I could conceivably even bring this up on my own?
You could. It'll take a little bit of doing. It is definitely awkward to swim with, but might be possible.
I mean, we can both grab a handle.
I'm gonna ask. Well, I'm gonna ask her. Thank you. My form, just kind of gesturing to myself, is not particularly well suited. If it's not too much trouble, do you think your beautiful sturgeon might be able to assist us in bringing it to the surface?
She seems to think about this. I do not think he would have an easier time bringing up that trunk of human things. I think that you with your hands will probably have more luck with that. So yeah, full disclosure, you can definitely bring it up to the surface. It'll just be a little bit awkward to do.
Okay.
Can I say two things? I could, for the chest, I could swim up while he's sort of slowly bringing Tristan and the chest up a little bit. I could swim up and get a rope and come down and tie it to the chest, and then they could winch it up.
You're going up, and I'm keeping them both. Okay.
Or the opposite. You know what? Actually, the opposite, because you don't want to be down here. So yeah, I would let Julian run up to.
The two of you can get close to the boat and then kind of get it from there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, can I say, just for flavor, that I did bring a little tin of cigarettes this doesn't have to like aid a roll or anything like that, just for flavor. That I had in my pocket a little tin of cigarettes, and I will just give it to her.
Sure.
As a gesture of goodwill for letting us interact with her and take Tristan and take the chest.
She seems very pleased by this. She is very happy to accept that as another gift. The pair of you can kind of get Tristan moving. He's able to sort of swim, but he seems zonked. He does not seem aware of what's going on around him, and there's just kind of a cloud of blood about his head.
The bacteria is really going to get him.
Oh, don't worry about that. We're in the 1880s. No one knows what bacteria are yet.
Nobody knows what bacteria is. It's fine.
Can I get each of you to roll a d6?
No. You know what? I got my dice out. I'm going to roll it in this box because...
Yeah, I have a single d6 in front of me here, so I'll just
Hey,
roll
I got
that.
a 6! This is why I roll physical dice, because they love me more than digital dice.
I got a 5.
Okay. You swim back to the surface. You have that wand in hand. You are able to carry out your plan to kind of winch that back up with a rope and get it back up to the surface.
And make sure to give Carl his knife back.
And make sure to give York pets as soon as we get back on the boat.
He immediately starts shaking himself off because you are soaking wet.
Yeah. He's like, don't touch me. He does that thing where he like concaves his back, like, stop it.
Just bends exactly far enough that you can't reach him.
Yeah.
Phoenix, can I get a vigilance test for Julian?
Okay. 1 success on 3 dice.
Hey.
Okay. As the two of you are getting out of the water, soaking wet, you spot something just a little bit odd. Just for a moment, before Sofie can get some of her layers back on, there is something visibly dark on her arm. Below her.
Oh, because my shirt's all wet.
Yep. That white blouse shirt, there's something elaborate and dark across her skin. You can't quite see what it is through the fabric, and she very quickly covers back up.
To quote Brian, don't worry about it.
I mean, I having caught a glimpse of it, so all I could see was some sort of just dark shapes. I couldn't really get a lot of detail out of that, I assume, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My instinct, I'm just going to go with it. I kind of point to her shoulder as she's putting everything back on. Is that a tattoo? Sofie, I never thought you were the type.
Sofie freezes for a second, like buttoning up her jacket, and then she just laughs. Oh, it was just something to remember my mother by, if you will. It's in Norwegian, just some things that yes.
Can I see it? Most of the people that I've seen with the tattoos, when they come down to Madame Lou's, it's usually like the sailors. I'm just surprised.
Does Sofie seem deeply uncomfortable right now?
She's torn. She's been working with Julian for some time, and so she trusts him, and she thinks of him as, she's sort of like an aunt figure, like that's the, not exactly the relationship, but she's older and he's
half Filipino. Everyone's an auntie.
Right. She's auntie regardless of whether she's auntie or not. Exactly. Yeah. And so, she's like, I think she's probably only told, what's his name, Brian?
Matthias?
She's probably only told Matthias. and like maybe somebody else, but that's like the main only person.
She also might not want to talk about it with Carl sitting in the boat.
Right. So she's like, maybe, I've just gotten this back on. I'm a little cold. I don't want to. I'll show you a little bit more later. Obviously no innuendo or anything, but just when we get back to the library, I'll explain a little bit more about it.
Well, when we get back to the library, don't worry, I can provide all the innuendo needed.
Classic Julian. So while the two of you are
definitely feeling much better now that we are up out of the water and he is not relying on. Is the kelp bladder, is it still breathing?
As you get out of the water, it seems to just be breathing a little slower than it was before. But it's still going.
Maybe we should keep these. Maybe we should keep them on the side of Carl's boat. And then if we want to go back in the water, we can come back to Carl's boat and we can grab them and go in. No?
Carl, would you like to keep these?
No, sir. I don't think I would. They look awful creepy.
Yes,
they're really
they
quite
do.
Creepy, Carl. You're absolutely correct. They're very creepy. I admit that, but they were very useful, and it seems a shame to just. Well, we'll bring them with us, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we can. Maybe at the library we can submerge them in one of the sinks in the kitchen or something, and so then they'll stay fresh.
So while the two of you are kind of chatting and kind of talking about things and singing outcast lyrics, you look over at Tristan, and it seems that he has been greatly changed by this experience.
Oh yeah, probably should have given him like a clean cloth for his eye.
He is just staring dully down at the water. A lot of that kind of bravado that you've heard about, a lot of the self-assurance, that seems gone. This man seems like a shell.
I will slowly approach him and just kind of clear my throat just to see if he acknowledges me.
He kind of looks at you, doesn't really seem to be focusing on you, and then looks back at the water and then looks back at you.
Rough day.
Her song was so beautiful. So beautiful.
What was that? Come on, let's get you home.
Return to Ballard and make your way quickly to the Breakwater Hall. You are greeted by Horatio, who escorts you in. You are met in the large dining area by Edward, who is shaken by Tristan's condition. He gets him kind of sat in a chair, and Tristan just looks out past him, out the windows, towards the sea, where he watches the crashing waves. The floorboards of Breakwater Hall creak under your feet, and are the only sound besides the crashing of the waves outside. Behind you, Edward Van Door stands, bracing himself against the table. His knuckles turn white as he grips its edge. All he can do is look back and forth, staring between his son and up at the family coat of arms that hangs over his fireplace. A mermaid, holding in her hand a ripe, red fruit. Edward says nothing, and Horatio steps forward to show you out. You have little choice but to leave Edward to his thoughts, staring numbly up at the icon of his family's legacy.
Before we leave Tristan, Sofie would like to just go, and I'm imagining that, he goes and sort of just collapses into a chair in the dining room.
Oh, yeah.
And she will just kneel in front of him and take his hands and say,
You've had a rough journey, but you must remember, you cannot just take everything that is beautiful. It doesn't always belong to you. And then she'll leave.
He smiles just a little bit, but you're not sure how much of your words he heard. What you are sure of is that Deep Wave has his heart, and he will never get it back.
That's fair.
Perhaps in time, with the help of someone like Father Bjorn, he may again start to resurface some part of himself. But for now, you can't be sure. Do you return the wand to Mira?
Oh, I am definitely going back to return the wand.
Yes, but the other thing I would like to do is we've got this steamer trunk with us.
Mm-hmm.
I realize it might be making a couple of trips, but I think just even before we go to her, and of course Julian wants to put that off as long as he can,
Mm-hmm.
getting that over to the library and figuring out what's inside.
Excellent. So we'll come back to that. The two of you can actually just easily split up to kind of wrap things up.
If you're comfortable going to see the witch on your own, Julian will happily not go with you.
That sound all right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll go by myself. Oh, I'll happily go by myself. Listen.
All right. So Sofie heads up to return the wand. You make your way through the amusement park, which at this point of day is getting pretty emptied out. There are not many people around, especially after it rained earlier, although you hear the occasional ribbit from a frog or a toad.
They're just little guys.
I mean,
there's
maybe.
Extra little guys everywhere. What's wrong with that?
It depends on if you're a toad hater on Maine or not.
Exactly.
So you make your way into the tent, and sure enough, Mira is still sitting there at her little table covered in cloth. You returned. Did you find it?
We did. We found it, and the seaweed devices that you lent us were very useful. So we appreciate that. And here is the wand.
May I ask, what befell Tristan?
Well, you may be happy to find out that his eye was taken as a trade for having disrespected a huera.
Oh, that's simply delightful.
I must say I was not dismayed at the end result myself.
I mean, it could have gone worse for him, by a wide margin.
When she said that he had looked disrespectfully on her, I assumed she was going to blind him, and then she said one eye. And I thought, well, that seems like a perfectly decent trade.
She smiles. Did you hand back the wand, by the way?
Yes.
Young Tristan is quite fortunate he didn't get a chance to use this.
What does it do, if I might ask?
Of course you may. It transforms a creature into an animal, including transforming them into a human.
So that is why he thought that he could assist the huera, perhaps by turning her into a human, but of course that was only helping her in his own mind.
I suspect she would have drowned. So if anything, he's quite fortunate he only lost the eye.
Indeed.
I'm sure that things will continue to work poorly for him, though.
Most likely, unless he is able to learn his lesson.
Is there anything further I might be able to help you with, Sofie?
Well, Possibly, but maybe I'll just come back another time and speak to you then.
I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, darling.
And she smiles and inclines her head to you. And somewhere Julian is like, don't trust the witch! All right, Phoenix.
Yeah.
You get back to the library, and you are able to find Jeremy, who is more than happy to help you get this trunk open. He is running around. He's not very good at lockpicking. So he gets a fork and tries to get that in there, and of course that doesn't work. So he's running about the place, finding various tools, tracking stuff down.
I don't suppose Caelan came back. I know he had a set of lockpicks with him.
I thought I saw Caelan at one point, but he hasn't been around all day, I thought. I'll try and find him. Here, I'll just leave this crowbar with you, and I'll go try and find Caelan. And Jeremy runs off.
Julian just kind of shrugs. Oh, bye. And he's not going to be very good at this, but he'll just see what he can do with that crowbar.
It's going to take Julian a while, but eventually he manages to crack open that lock.
Did you check for traps?
He did not. And it's trapped. And it's not after. No, wrong game. You crack open this chest, lifting up the lid, and inside are bundles of old clothes. And nothing more.
Oh well.
No gold doubloons.
Are they dry?
No.
Or are they ruined?
Oh, they're real ruined. They've been sitting down in the water for about 5 years.
Okay.
I wonder if... No. These are unsalvageable.
There's not a replacement coat in here.
I check for a false bottom.
You search around trying to find any kind of false bottom. You kind of pull all the clothes apart looking for anything of value in there. There's nothing. It's just a trunk of clothes.
One can only hope.
It's taken you a while to kind of pry and work on this, and also to get the right tools from Jeremy. So it's just after dusk at this point, as Sofie has gotten back. Sofie has arrived back at the library when Jeremy comes running towards you both. Julian, Sofie, I was just looking for you. So I didn't find Caelan. I didn't find any lockpicks, but I did find one of your coats, Julian. And he holds it up really excited. I forgot when I lost this one, but I got it again. And I was going to go and put it on the coat rack, right? But then I noticed that there's something in the pocket. He
of course there is.
Reaches inside and pulls out 2 items. A cinnamon bun, missing 1 bite, and a envelope that says to Julian and Sofie.
What?
Cinnamon roll. If Thorn is around, I'll just lean down and give it to Thorn.
He is over in the library, so you'd have to... I'm assuming you did this, out in front.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So as to not, soak the carpeting.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I will not feed it to Thorn. I will, if Sofie has come back and she's there, I'll kind of motion over to her and then I don't know where this came from. I'll go ahead and open it up.
Okay. Would one of you read the following letter?
I'll read it. Sofie and Julian, you might be wondering where I went. Well, I'll tell you, but first I need to tell you about something you didn't know. I met Matthias when I came to the library seeking a cure for a curse. I used to live in Boston, and I worked for some sketchy characters in the Tailboard Thieves gang. You probably don't know them. Anyway, on a job I found a weird coin, and it made me really lucky. Turns out it's actually a Vossen called a Spiritus. It brings you luck and wealth, but it changes your personality. I thought giving it to my fiancée Bridget would mean we could stay rich and lucky, but I didn't really understand the curse. I didn't mean to, but I damned her soul to hell. Good gracious. Matthias helped me search the books in the library, and we found a way to break the curse's hold on her, but I can never have a large amount of money, or it will bring the Spiritus back and damn us both. Anyway, when I heard that song on the wind, it told me about a book I hadn't seen and a ritual to banish the Spiritus once and for all. But I can't perform it here. I've taken the coin and a couple of books back to Ireland. I don't expect you'll see me again. Oh, and please let Matthias know I'm sorry about the silver candlesticks. I needed those, to pay for the boat trip. And don't tell him, but I drank most of the port in the big bottle in his office. That's mostly full of water now, so he probably won't notice. Caelan.
Oh, wow, I didn't ever guess that he was going through something so significant.
Yeah. Ireland. Well?
All the way back to the homeland. Well, it's surprising, but I certainly wish him the best. I hope he's able to get rid of this Vossen once and for all.
I wonder if that'll bring Bridget back if he does. Having that, I just kind of shake my head. Having that on your shoulders.
Yes. It's quite a lot.
I guess this also does explain why he was so bad with money.
Agreed. Well, I'm glad he's safe anyway, and nothing happened to him after he left us.
Indeed.
And we slowly fade out on the front of the library, drifting off into a night sky above. And then looking down, there's a train car for the Great Pacific Railroad that is headed out east. And a vagabond leans in an open car that he has definitely snuck into and didn't pay for a ticket for, with a bindle over one shoulder and a tuneless whistle on his lips, headed back to break a curse.
Aw. Blessings upon you, Caelan.
And that's where we're going to end this session and this mystery. I'm excited to get into our next interlude and then jump into our next story.
Right.
Thank you all so much for playing through this one, and thank you to Ginny D for having written the cold and hungry sea that inspired this mystery.
Ginny D!
Thanks, Ginny D!
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.